extreme. Anything for me in my life and personality is whatever the top is, that's where I want to go. Whatever's the most extreme. That's just my nature. So when I saw that, I said, oh, that's what I want to do. And the guys there told me, okay, well, this and this and this and this and this is what you have to do to get there. And I said, okay.
So you were working that, working that plan.
Oh yeah.
Over a couple of years.
Yeah, got my qualifications. Went to the hot shots, just like they recommended, did that for 2 years, and then started applying to go jump. I applied for 2 years before I got picked up.
So you showed up at McCall in the spring of what year?
Actually, how it happened was I applied for 2 years. The first year I didn't get hired. The second year I said, okay, I'm gonna try harder. So I sent applications all over. Missoula, Redding, Redmond, Grangeville, West Yellowstone, anyway. And I got my car and drove to each one of those bases. I hit every one, walked in, shook their hand, said, this is who I am, here's my resume. A lot better than just send it over an email. Walked in there, and the second year, I was in a fire class in Provo, and I got a phone call from Robin Embry, I still remember her name, and asked me to come up to Grangeville, out of Idaho, to jump. So.
Did you get excited about that?
Oh yeah, everybody in the class knew as soon as I got that phone call. Because we were on break and I came back in, I just stood up and told the whole class.
Well, that's great. Okay, so then you showed up at Grangeville. You went to Grangeville.
Yeah.
So I've never been through that whole process over there, so what happened? What do you remember?
Well, Grangeville, they have the jump base there, but that's not where the class goes to. So to go through your rookie year, or your smoke jumper class, you have to go to Missoula. So we went to Missoula first. And so we did, so you got Grangeville, Missoula, and West Yellowstone. They all go to Missoula. McCall does their own thing. And so we went to Missoula, and that's where our base was, and that's where we learned to do everything. Went through the whole 2-week, 3-week period.
And what was the training like for you?
Oh man, in fact, I want to say I have a video somewhere. Anyway, the best time of my life and the hardest as well. In my life, physically, I've never had a problem completing any test, ever, except for that when I was doing it, when I was jumping. And we called it, and I still remember, it was on week 2, and they did it, it was over Crybaby Hill, and it was an 80-pound pack out test. I think it was over 3.5 miles, and it was over rough terrain. And I was already, most of us were already just hurt and dying from the first week. And I go up the hill, and you can't sit down, and you can't rest. You gotta keep going. And that was the one time I said, I'm gonna put this pack down, I can't do this is too hard. And I had one of the coaches, the trainers come by, and he's like, when the first one said, oh, what is his name? Navarro, I think I want to say it was like, I know he's Native American, but I think it's Navarro. He's out of Missoula. And he said, Lon, just put the pack down. You don't want to do this. Just go home, we'll get you some ice cream. You don't want to do this. This is not for you. I remember that. And I'm trying to complete this test, and he's telling me to quit. It was like military. It was so, anyway, and which fired me up even more. And so I ended up completing the test and set it down, and completed every test. I actually got, I don't know what they're called to this day, some sort of fasciitis on my ankles, and had to toughen through that. They don't care, whatever your problem is. And as soon as you say, I quit or I'm done, you're done. They're gone.
You saw that happen?
I did. Well, yeah, I saw one guy fail a test, and he was out, he left. And I saw another guy, he kind of said he quit, but then they talked to him and he ended up staying. I don't know the whole story. But.
Yeah. Well, did you, do you remember how many training jumps did you make?
Around 14 to 17, I think.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of them?
Yeah. Yeah. Not the first one, but one of the first ones. I went to go to the area, the jump spot, spotted it. Everything's good, parachute, coming down, I'm good. Click my heels together like they tell you to, so you don't, and I hit the ground, and instead of doing my PLF, they call it parachute landing fall, You do the roll. I remember I went feet, knees, face. And I come up and I had grass in my mask. And the instructor walks over and he goes, "What happened there?" And I said, "I don't know." I just blinked. Yeah. I treed up once in training jump, had to lower myself down. We jumped into water once, we did a water jump. That was really fun.
Well, take us through the water jump. What was it? What do you remember? It's fresh in your memory, so go through the whole thing for someone who's never been through it.
So the water jump, you don't need to do it, but it's kind of more of a, we're gonna let you do it. And so you have your reserve parachute on, but you don't have your pack on. Usually it goes in between your legs, your wildland firefighting pack. Because you're jumping into water and then it's more of a fun jump and you don't need it. So we didn't have that. So we just had our suit on, our parachute and our reserve and helmet. And we jumped and I want to say it was almost, I don't know if we jumped in pairs or single stick, I don't remember. We jumped and right before we hit the water, you pop your harness and you let go so that you can fall into the water. It was kind of a fun jump, so it was okay to do it. You don't do that on the ground, but in the water it was okay. And you pop it and we landed in the water. It was in a lake, and you try to aim yourself kind of towards shore, so you don't have so far to swim. And then you land in it, you get dunked. Most of your padding floats, so you're able to float. But
did you go deep in the water?
You go under, come back up. You got all this clothes on, and you're just kind of basically you just lay on your back and you just kind of just stroke it out, and you end up hooking your parachute onto your foot, so it'll stay with you. And then you just backstroke over to the shore.
Was it fun?
Oh, it was such a fun time. Yeah.
So, how many fire jumps you get that?
I only got like 3.
3?
Yeah.
And what summer was that?
2007.
Okay, so what do you remember your fire jumps?
A little more extreme, than the class was. So the first one, we jumped and we landed on a hill. So we parachute down, we landed on the hill, landed it. Everything's good. I get up, packed, load everything up. And the fire was coming down. It was backing down the hill. So you had to hurry pretty quickly. You couldn't take your time. Some of our gear actually landed in the fire and burned up at least one box of our gear. And then, so I remember put my pack, get our packs in the same spot, and I grabbed my tool, and I looked at one of the other guys that was an older jumper, and I said, "Okay, now what?" And he goes, "I don't know, do whatever you want." And he went one way, and everybody went the other way. And to me, that was like, it was so new to me, because I've been so used to the 20-man crew. You stay in line, you obey the superintendent, and this time it was, do whatever you want.
You against the fire?
Yeah. And
what did you do? Do you remember what you did?
I do. I remember I saw a couple of guys do the same thing. We grabbed some, I don't remember what the terminology is for it, but just some branches off one of the pine trees, and it was in low grass, so it wasn't too bad, and we were just going along, swatting out the fire in the grass with the branches. And I do remember I got into a saddle, I should say, on the ridgetop, and I could hear the radio traffic, and they were telling me the air tanker was coming in to drop a load of retardant. And I listened to the radio, and I said, "Wait, that's where I'm standing." So I took off running, and I didn't make it, and I ended up laying down and got splattered with fire retardant.
Where was the fire?
I want to say it was somewhere near the Salmon, Idaho, Salmon Chalice.
Pretty steep country?
Yeah.
So do you remember any of the other fires?
We jumped. Here's some smoke jumper stuff that no one else gets to do. So we jumped a fire. I don't remember where it was at, but it was small. It was a couple acres. We landed it, and kind of hurt landing because we came into some rocks, but just bumps and bruises. And so we got to the fire, and we worked it all day, and then we camped that night, and we had this lovely spam that all smoke jumpers have. In fact, because we're the rookies, so we had to prepare the spam for the other older jumpers. That's what you have to do. And so we were prepared, and we actually, in our pockets, we brought like Dijon mustard and stuff for it. So we had Dijon mustard on them, we made them all nice and stuff. So And then the next day, we got up, and I tell everybody this because only jumpers can do this. We fought the fire the next day, which is basically just digging line and checking hot spots. The only thing I was wearing was my boots, my pants, and my plasky. I didn't have a pack on, a shirt on, I didn't have a helmet on, I didn't have anything else on. And that's a big no.
So where were you on that fire?
I don't remember the area it was.
What state?
That one I don't remember either.
You were down here in the lower 48.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was in Idaho, Montana somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they only jumped one more time, and it was on the border of Oregon and Washington. Don't remember the exact name of the forest there. Oregon and Washington border. That was my last jump because I jumped it, and it was a downhill slope, and I came into it, like they say, coming downhill. And as I hit the ground and did my PLF down the hill, my shoulder hit a rock, and it broke it. So I remember I rolled.
You broke the rock or your
My
shoulder?
And so I rolled, and I got up, and I said, "Ow, that kind of hurt." I'm okay, it was just bumps and bruises, I've done it before. So I start unzipping and trying to get my stuff off, and I can't move my arm to get my coat off. So I realized, okay, I think something's wrong. So I radio up and said, "Hey, this is where I'm at. I think I got hurt." Send down the EMT pack or whatever they call it. So the guys came down to see if I was all right, and I was taking my stuff off still, and I pulled my shirt away, and they said, "Yep, you're broken," because my bone was kind of popping out a little bit. So they said, "Well, you're not going to the fire, obviously." And I hiked up to the hill, dropped my stuff, and I still wanted to go, but they wouldn't let me. And they said, "Here's some ibuprofen. We'll see you in the morning." So I just stayed on the hill all night with a broken shoulder and had some ibuprofen and water.
How'd that work out?
It wasn't too bad. I had it in a sling. I got some pictures somewhere of me sitting in a sling. And then the next morning a helicopter came in. It was pretty cool. Hit the ridge top, didn't land. He must have been some Vietnam guy because he didn't even land, just right there hovering. Opens the door, "Come on, get in." Okay. So I run up the hillside and I jump in, and off we went.
So